Mosley, martial art instructor, and this is Martial Art Universe, bringing you the finest of the martial arts from around the world. Point. On November 5th, 2022, I attended the Urban Action Showcase and Expo 10th Anniversary Celebration. There were special events and guests, screenings, panels, seminars, and superstar fan experience.
Close. No one's on top of that. Close. Close.
Bigger.
Yeah.
He said, but I'm on this set because of Steve James. I want you to know this. But I said, yes, sir, Mr. Ironside.
Steve was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was amazing. Nice guy. That's what Chuck Norris
That was the
talked
movie
about.
with James Lee, Rinse and Rising.
Right.
He was a police guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he signed up with Golden Globus right after he
James
did
did.
Soldier.
I cast James in that from bumping into him at Gold's Gym in North Hollywood. We're lifting weights. I said, hey, James, I got this role. I got all the big fight scenes with this guy, and he's like a mystical guy.
Yeah.
Are you up for it? And he goes, yeah, I'll do it. So then the director, producers, I guess they just didn't want two Asians, right, whatever. They wanted some non-martial artist to do it, an actor.
Right.
And I said, no. I said, I got mutual approval, and I'm not going to approve it. And that's it. James has got it. So I had to stand up, and then afterwards, they're all going, oh, we got a great guy. Oh, he was a great job. Everybody took the bad package because everybody loved her. The screening, they look, when the guy steals the scene, a lot of actors get jealous or whatever. No, he stole every scene he was in, and he deserved every scene. James Lee he had the presence.
He does.
He would walk in the scene in slow motion and steal it. You know what I mean? They put the slow motion thing on him. He walks in and he just owns it.
He does.
Man, anyway, we've always
All right,
been
guys.
friends since then. Yeah.
I'm gonna interrupt you there, but no. So you got a free preview already of the knowledge of martial arts cinema here from Don the Dragon Wilson.
I hope not.
Welcome to the martial arts action cinema panel. I am on stage here with some of the most incredible collection of talent in martial arts and martial arts cinema. So I'm gonna go down the line and introduce them. Lady Blood Fight, Accident Man, Amy Johnson, right here. Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, Carl Scott, that's Carl Scott right here. Subject of the documentary, The Hanged Man, the OG Black Dragon, Ron Van Cleef. Ring of Fire, Blood Fist, Don the Dragon Wilson. Hong Kong Stuntman Association, Jugando con Fuego star of that, director of Shadow Fist 2, which is streaming tonight. Robert Bobby Samuels. Operation Condor, King of the Kickboxers, Vincent Lin down there at the end. Thank you all so much for joining the panel. So before I get started, I'm going to give you guys a question that we're going to revisit at the end, so I'll give you time to think about it. But the state of martial arts cinema has evolved so much since the 70s, since the Kung Fu era. I'm sure a lot of the audience members here know what I'm talking about. Some of you might be too young for that. You'll learn. So the question I want to ask is, the next evolution of martial arts cinema will be blank. So think about that, and we'll fill that in at the end, all right? In the meantime, for anybody who doesn't know, martial arts and martial arts cinema, super cool for all of us fans who love that stuff. What was it about martial arts cinema that attracted you to it in the first place? And I'll give the ladies first. So.
Oh. Thank you.
So for me, growing up doing martial arts, my whole life was martial arts. I had a very martial arts family, and so that's really all I watched. And really, there's this energy of martial arts that's expressing yourself on camera. And I think that's one of the most important things in life, is to find something that you feel like you can express yourself throughout this crazy life. Throughout the ups and downs, you need that outlet. And to see that on camera, to see the expressiveness through martial arts is so inspiring and uplifting. And sure, there may be like punches in the face and things like that, but there's so much beautiful energy that just inspires me incredibly through martial arts films.
Scott.
For me, I started off competing in martial arts in tournaments. Sorry, is this a little bit louder?
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, got it. Thank you. So I started competing at a very young age in martial arts. Okay, and that was the thing with me in terms of the cinema was concerned. I really wasn't into the cinema. I was more into the competition, the fighting, tournament circuit. I think I really got into it right after Fist of Furies and the five dragons or something like that. Five Veterans. Yep. Yeah. That was my excitement watching that, and the different styles that they were doing, yeah.
I grew up in Brooklyn, and I started studying martial arts in 1957, and I started with jiu-jitsu with Moses Powell. My experience that got me into film is purely by accident. I had no interest in films, but I met this gentleman, Seraphim Karalexis. He's the one that brought the Five Fingers of Death movie to America. Yeah. And he said to me, I think we should have some films with some black heroes. And that's how I became the Black Dragon. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Kind of amazing.
Sure.
And I did 8 films as that character. And I fell in love with Hong Kong. I did. I fell in love with Hong Kong. Yeah.
Hong Kong fell in love with you too, sir. So.
Oh.
Certainly.
And Carl was one of my inspirations. I watched him as a young guy doing those films. Billy John?
Yes, sir.
Billy John? Amazing. And then the dragon here. I've been privileged by knowing so many wonderful people in the martial arts, and it truly is a universal family. I started studying with the Gracies 11 years ago, and it's just another journey on my excursion of life.
Still training. Still
going. Right.
Okay, the question was, how do we get into it? Okay, I gotta remember. Well, it was not anything that was thought out in advance, because I was a kung fu stylist. I competed in tournaments, which is what we were doing back in the 70s, 72 I started. And we had a reputation, kung fu fighters. They said, well, they're good in forms, but they can't fight. And I didn't like that. They just didn't sit well with me. So when they had the first kickboxing matches in Florida, which was 1974, right after they had them in LA, they called it full contact karate. And my brother promoted it, and so of course I tried it. Now, I broke my hand before the fight, broke it in the fight, lost money because there was no athletic association to pay for the medical bills, and I loved it though. I lost my first fight, so I didn't start off as any great kickboxer, but I ended up winning 11 world titles, and well, I ended up being the highest paid kickboxer. So it became a career for me. But Chuck Norris is the one who got me in the movie business. And the way he did that is not by opening any doors, just by giving me the confidence to get in my car from LA when I retired the first time. I retired 3 times so far. And I got in a Corvette, which
so far.
Well, the Corvettes can't fit a lot. But whatever I could fit in the Corvette, I drove to LA. And then I found out real fast they weren't casting 6-foot-tall Asians with Southern accents. So I got lucky. I said luck is part of it. And I read for a guy named Roger Corman, and anybody in the movie business would know him. And he starred me in 12 movies. Now, when Roger Corman stars you in 12 movies, if you don't have a career, then whatever the it factor is, you don't have it. So I had a career. And like I said, the biggest thing was Chuck Norris giving me the confidence. And then the second thing was the luck. Just Roger Corman cast me in a movie. Thank you.
Hi. For me, it was I'm honored like right now because growing up in West Philadelphia, I was, as a kid, I always wanted to be in martial arts films, and there were two in particular individuals that I used to idolize on screen. And I said, one day if I could do what they do, that's all I really wanted to do in life. And that's Grandmaster Carl Scott and Ron Van Cleef, my godfather. Their images is what allowed me to have the career that I have today. I was very fortunate to live and work with Sammo Hung in Hong Kong. I've done a lot of films in Asia, and then I came back to the United States and started doing films. But none of that would have been, I'm the first African-American Hong Kong stuntman. None of that would have been possible if it were not for these two gentlemen image on screen, which allowed me to believe that I could go to another country and make a name for myself. So fortunately, I learned the language, and then, God bless me. So at this particular moment, to be here next to Don, another one who I grew up watching on film, Amy, for me, like, when Demetrius told me she was coming, I was extremely excited because I feel like she carries the true essence of female energy and how it should be done today in martial arts films. So hats off to her because I feel she's the torchbearer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can all agree, all our panelists here, that we've all been studying since we could tie our own shoelaces, or maybe practicing martial arts became before tying our shoelaces. For me, it actually happened kind of strangely. I was actually modeling at the time in New York, and the photographer, well-known photographer, Chinese photographer said, have you ever thought of going to Hong Kong to do film? And I said, yeah, like everybody else has thought about that. So he put me in touch with a friend of his was an art director. I flew to Hong Kong on my own dime. Bobby knows, as we all have done this. And met with him at the Sheraton coffee shop, like all meetings take places at Hong Kong coffee shops. And he put me in touch with 4 film companies. So I interviewed with Raymond Chow at Golden Harvest, at Sammo Hung's company, Bulwar, Cinema City, which was, I think, fairly new. And of course, kind of a brand new company was Dapbo, or D&B, owned by the entrepreneur Dixon Poon, who famously married Michelle Yeoh. And it was a new film. It was called Tiger Cage, Yuen Woo-ping's comeback film. And it was amazingly successful. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. And then, 20 or so films later, I was co-starring with Jackie Chan. The one thing that was great, which I'll end with, was that I was able to utilize kind of all the things that, the gifts I've been given. So I was not only signed with the Elite Modeling Agency there in Asia, but also I was signed with Polygram Records. So I was actually writing songs for local canto pop stars. So it's been kind of surreal, but been a good ride. Thank you.
Also, we're joined now by Hakeem Olsen there at the end. Hakeem.
I'm not quite sure what the question was. I'm sorry for being late, guys.
Hakeem, we're asking your superhero origin story. Essentially, no. What drew you to martial arts and martial arts cinema, and you being part of that now?
You know what? I think everyone's journey is unique unto themselves. My journey, again, unfortunately I wasn't here to hear the rest of the panel. Started with competition, where I was kind of discovered. And was it in the back of my mind to be, in film and in television? Sure. As any kid who joins in the martial arts, I was influenced by Inner Dragon Bruce and all those genre films. But I never really envisioned myself realistically as kind of jumping into the film industry. So as a competitor, that was my whole focus at the time. I basically was approached by a couple of producers, Pat Johnson and some of the other directors out there, on a couple of films. They said, hey, listen, we have this project. We want you guys, that we're very interested in your look. We think you got charisma. And they kind of said, listen, let's give this a shot. I had no idea, nothing, no experience with acting. And I think it shows in some of the films. But anyway. Honesty. I'm humble. But anyway, long story short, guys, listen, it started with that, with one of the television shows, Shoot Fighter, some of the earlier films that I did. That kind of parlayed into the television shows, then to Mortal Kombat, and then to some other television shows after that. And I was humbled because as an athlete, you embark on the journey of competition, trying to be the best, and you understand that there's a curve of learning, and you respect those who have come before you. And I had to be humbled, even in the in the industry of say film and television, to where I had to really start to respect the craft. And then I started to understand that doing my own stunts was something that I didn't have a choice. They couldn't find too many 6'5" stunt guys to really kind of do my stunts, so I had to learn the hard way with a lot of tumbles and some broken bones of how to do your own stunts. So I respect that, and I respect the journey, and I, honestly speaking, I'm honored to be here, guys. Thank you.
Hakeem, let me keep the mic down with you, and I'll start with this. You all talk about luck and being discovered. It's a different time nowadays with the advent of social media. A lot of people can put something up there and be found by directors and action fight coordinators and things like that. What is your take on how different it is to be discovered now as opposed to when you were coming up?
Yeah, I think it's extremely different. I mean, back in the day, it was a very small network and a very small opportunity platform that you had to kind of get your work out there, to kind of be seen, so to speak. Nowadays, with the invent of from whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, or etc., being able to push your own content out there and having the opportunity to that going viral and being discovered, it's a whole nother game. And I think that if you really are passionate, unlike before where it was you were hoping to be discovered or hoping to be plucked, and it was just a roll of the dice. Now you have much more control, and I think that even with the invent of with dealing with the digital elements of say NFTs and etc., it's going to be a whole new game out there. And I think that if you are really interested in pursuing this as a career and as a passion, really there's no excuses, and the opportunity is really in front of you.
Oh, okay. I have to think back of early Jackie Chan's career, and the 7, call them lucky stars, right? Sammo Hung, Yun Bil, Yun Hwa, Yun Kwai. Who else? Yeah. And I remember speaking with Jackie about this. These guys became the most famous, well, many of them film stars, but some of the greatest action choreographers, action directors in the world. And he said it was because it was the way they were trained. They were really brutalized, but they also became, the most famous. And I think of it in a comparative way with Bobby and I. We were in Hong Kong during the golden age of Hong Kong cinema. And we were very fortunate because that period of Hong Kong film was the most prolific. It will never happen again, ever. And we had to, we were put through hell, being the foreigners, the Westerners, the Guai Lo, Hak Wei, yeah, even more difficult for Bobby than myself. So to follow that today, yes, maybe social media and the advent of YouTube and things makes it a little easier for people to get their content out there. It's the same as the music industry, but I still think to break into mainstream film, it's just as difficult today, if not more difficult now than it was then. I can't see it being any easier.
For me, I started in the 90s in Hong Kong. he's the real golden age, because like during the 80s, I really wish I could have been there. Him and Cynthia with Blonde Fury and Tiger Cage. I came in at I caught the last wave of the golden age, working with Yuen Wu-ping and Sammo and things like that. Of course, we were using celluloid then. It wasn't digital technology, but I think today, filmmakers are afforded the opportunity to kind of do their own thing and don't have to depend on the vices of Hollywood. Years ago, the studios controlled the actors, the theaters, the content, it was one-stop shopping. But with the advent of digital technology, now it allows individuals with creative endeavors to kind of go out there and create their own magic. And let me tell you, some of those independents are really competing with some of the mainstream. I believe personally that the future of filmmaking is the streaming market because of the convenience of it. Gone are the days where we can actually go to a theater and really watch martial arts films, because it's a niche audience for the most part. The theaters are more held for tentpole films. So I applaud and I delve into that independent film world, because I think that's where the future is. I recently directed a film last year called Made in Chinatown with The Sopranos, and I brought a couple of Hong Kong luminaries in. Of course, I could have did the whole Hong Kong thing, but it was a family-oriented film, and it didn't really do well for the martial arts crowd, but it did well for the mainstream crowd. And again, I just don't want to be typecast in what I do. I try to make it eclectic in my choices of what I do. I did a film in Mexico. I don't even speak Spanish, but I made sure that the whole film was done in Mexican, in Spanish language. And we've managed to garner awards from across the world. And today I have a premiere of an homage film to Shaw Brothers. So again, independent cinema, the digital technology, it allows you the breadth to do this creative endeavors. Thank you.